Okay, so let's do one serious segment. We got to let go a little bit. So talk
Once,
a little bit about where, because I mean, obviously, you have this great heritage that I know about, but share everybody a little bit about growing up, where you grew up, and that kind of stuff, because that's kind of cool. I think diverse stories are very interesting, and then you ended up with this incredible journey to American Idol, which I know a lot about. But yeah,
yeah, I mean, if I were to pretend that you knew nothing and
yeah,
I was
yeah. I
telling
don't.
you all of this
Mariah Peters, tell me about yourself, Mariah.
I would
Look,
start.
I can even do this to make more pressure. Watch.
Okay, okay. Oh my gosh!
Well,
Wow,
that's your whole room.
that's the whole space. Yeah, this is actually the guest room to our house that we are moving out of. I packed up the last boxes yesterday, so I'm in like a sentimental mood, which is rare. So I would start with my name. I would say that my name is Mariah, and that name was given to me by my mother. When she was pregnant with me, she had a vision of this like dark skinned, curly haired girl like running down the hallway. And she didn't even know if it, what kind of gender the baby was going to be yet. So, but she just knew that it was whatever the baby was coming out as, it was going to be Mariah. So my name is Hebrew. It means God is my teacher. I used to hate my name. In grade school, I signed all of my papers Chloe Peters. I just loved the name Chloe. I thought it was so much cooler than Mariah. I asked all my teachers and friends to call me Chloe. This is just like detail backstory that I feel like I don't ever get to share. So
You know what? That's cool. I didn't know the Chloe story, so that is super cool. I'm ready to like have like get carried away and like change your name because I can do that.
shout out to anyone named Chloe because that's a great name.
So
Um,
I can just like totally give you a hard time and like change your name.
Look at yeah, do that. Maybe I should still have like the line over the O because it's still a long
Put a
O.
little squiggly there.
Oh,
All right.
that's good. That's good. Yeah, I mean, I'm not mad at that. And when I put out my first record, it was MORIAH Peters, and then I got married in 2013, and then I took on my husband's last name, Smallbone, which, as you can imagine, was quite the transition. Wasn't used to having such an intriguing last name. And I was thankful that I didn't have that name while I went to a public school in LA because the jokes would have been incessant. Um, and and so now, just to kind of keep things simple, I just go by Mariah. I just go by my birth name, and I never thought that I would be a musician. I have friends who are, putting out music, and from the time that they were children, they just like dreamed about being on a stage. And I actually saw my friend post something. She was at her label today and like taking pictures. And she was like, ever since I was a little girl, like I always dreamed of doing this. Like, keep dreaming because dreams come true. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I would have taken that advice, I would be a lawyer by now. Like I just never pictured, I never dreamed that this would be my life, and I would never change it. I'm so thankful that I get to do what I do. I get to write, I get to create. I don't take it lightly. I take it as a responsibility. I treat it with as much diligence and structure as I would any other job, a profession in the legal field. That I have the same approach because I think it deserves that. And I, while we're just kind of freewheeling and on the random thought train, I mentioned to my dad the other day, we were just driving to Kentucky for King and Country show, um, and we were talking about how my siblings and I are the first generation in our family who actually have the opportunity to work in the creative industry.
Oh
Um,
wow.
there's a famous John Adams quote that I will do my best to attempt to convey. But if you really want to, hear the words, you should Google it 'cause it's a great quote. But when he was with the French and he had just, had the long journey from America, and he was trying to gain their sympathy and their support, they were irritated that he wasn't like enjoying going to the theater and to plays and, enjoying music. And he was stressed out and just wanted to talk politics. And when they kind of chastised him for it, he gave this beautiful monologue where he basically said, my great grandfather was a farmer so that my grandfather could be a businessman, and my father was a businessman so that I could be a politician, and I'm a politician so that my sons can be doctors and lawyers, and they will be doctors and lawyers so that their sons and daughters can be in the arts and musicians and in the theater. And so it was just this really beautiful way of looking at what it costs to be a creative and the sacrifice that leads to it. And it's no different in my family and in my story. My grandparents immigrated, 3 of the 4 of them immigrated from Mexico. My grandfather was a musician in Mexico, a touring musician, and he gave that up to be a busboy in Texas, and then later ended up working at a Levi's facility in a factory. And so and then my dad was the judge, and so I just look at the generations and I just go, oh my gosh, like
You're living that out.
Yeah, like we stand on the shoulders of giants. And so I look at the cost of it, and often, and it makes me thankful. And I think creating from a place of gratitude is really life-giving. At least for me, it's been really important.
That's super deep. I felt the same way in some ways, because I was the first one in kind of like my immediate family that were able to go to college. And there was just this constant thing about going, and this excitement that was always there. And it was kind of a turning point. And then being able to try to raise up kids that would want to. I always try to encourage them, but I never wanted to force them. And to see that too, and I take pride in the fact that they were able to do that and succeed and find paths for themselves, and now they're developing families. And I can relate. It's like one little twist, one little turn, follow a dream, and you're in a completely different path, career, whatever. But that's the God's will thing, I think, in a lot of ways too, and we can just submit ourselves to that, and that's easier said than done.
God doesn't draw in straight lines, which is
or we keep grabbing the wheel from him and driving it all over the road, because that was me. I just kept grabbing the wheel and driving all over the road. And he was like, well, I'll wait for you to come back. You'll be back, so I'll get you. So, what did your siblings do for a living? Just general professions?
My sister is a news anchor for Fox 5 New York. And then my brother is he's studying to be a dental hygienist.
Okay. So, okay. Definitely a long way from the busboy roots and the sacrifices that were made generations ago. That's crazy. Yeah. Great story. Great story.